Hi guys, I'm Hannah, and I am currently a 200-hour yoga teacher student with the My Vinyasa Practice um, school. And so I have been practicing yoga for a long time, and I am here to talk about today, like how to create a home practice that's fun, interesting, intuitive, creative, and how to like kind of use props and what I call creature comforts to play around on your mat to keep it fresh, to keep it interesting and engaging so that you're not doing the same thing every day. I find that I'm a very creative type of person, and I like to be spontaneous and impulsive, and I like for my practice to be different. Um, like I get bored of doing the same thing over and over and over again, and so I won't practice regularly if it doesn't stay like kind of like stimulating and creative and different. And so I like to feel different sensations in my yoga practice by trying like different postures and using different props and trying different styles of yoga. And so I want to talk about like ways that you can take a simple yoga flow um, and um, have like a bunch of different ways that you can do that, and like different ways to get into um, postures that we probably do the poses, like for example child's pose. There's a lot of different ways you can do that, but like I do child's pose in every single yoga practice, and so it gets kind of stale sometimes if I do the same type of child's pose every time. So I like to implement different props or different ways of doing the pose, um, to keep it engaging and keep it fun. And so I've been thinking about like what creature comforts help keep my yoga practice fun and interesting. And so like one of the things that I really like to do is use things that I like keep things close to me that aren't necessarily a part of yoga practice, but uh, they make it fun and interesting and entertaining. And so some people are very serious about having like a very disciplined practice, keeping distractions out of the room, and like having like nothing around them, just their mat, and they just focus on their practice. Um, Sometimes I like that, but sometimes I find that kind of like boring. So I like to have a blanket. I'm sitting here with my blanket. I'm sitting on my yoga cushion, and I really like to just kind of do it my own way. So I'll put on a yoga video like on TV or on my computer, and I will, because I've been practicing yoga a long time, I understand certain principles of movement to keep my body safe. So I won't necessarily do everything that's on the yoga video that I'm watching. Um, I might kind of change up the poses to feel something in my body. Like, for example, if we're doing a twist and like I'm having shoulder pain, I might change up the twist that I'm doing in order to open up that shoulder a little bit better than what they're describing on the video. Or I'll use a prop like a block or a cushion or something to increase the sensation in my shoulder or support the shoulder if it's like a little bit too much. So like when you have practiced yoga a lot, you'll learn certain principles of movement. You'll learn like different types of the same pose that you can go to get certain effects. And so I guess that's kind of what I'm what I'm getting at. I'm just kind of like free forming this video, but it's just like realize that you don't always have to do it a certain way. You don't always have to do your yoga practice exactly how they're saying it through a video, or if you're doing like a live Zoom yoga class, or even if you're in like a yoga studio, you can always change up the postures in order to get the desired effects. So um, that's something that I really like to do. And like when you are very experienced with yoga, you'll kind of notice what's going on inside, and you'll be able to choose what's best for you. And most yoga teachers will support that as long as you're keeping your body safe. And so I've been learning about safe movement and how to like effectively help people progress in their yoga practice. So like if you're a beginner yogi, you want to start working on first range of motion, um, starting with the shoulders and the hips. Those are the two main structures that support your body in your practice. So if you don't have proper range of motion in your shoulders, which most people don't, then you're not going to be able to effectively uh, have correct alignment your in certain postures, and that will lead to compensations in like the arms. Like there are certain ways that your arms will compensate for the lack of range of motion, and then that can often lead to injury, especially in poses that bear weight on the hands. So that's like downward facing dog, plank pose. If are more advanced, you might be doing balancing postures like crow pose, crane pose, um, handstands, and those other one. There's a lot of different ones that you can like bear your weight on your hands and like balance. I avoid. I do not do those myself. I don't do those weight bearing balance postures on my hands because I struggle so much with my range of motion in my shoulders. I get overuse injuries in my shoulders, elbows, and wrists quite often, just because I have a pattern of movement that puts me more at risk for that. And so I don't practice those. I don't teach them. I don't recommend them to people. But if you are going to practice those, that's your choice. Make sure that you learn the principles of safe alignment, and that you really work on proper range of motion and strength building in the shoulders and arms and upper body, so that you don't injure yourself, because it's really easy to injure your arms and your wrists and your shoulders when you're practicing a lot of weight bearing on the hands and stuff. But so I'll turn to the side and show you kind of what I'm talking about. So in general, people in our society today, they tend to have like a forward tilt in their head. So you'll notice that my cervical spine, which is this part back here, it does not have a convex curve. So it's kind of hard to see with my my hair in the way, but it's kind of flat from my shoulders here all the way up to where it meets my skull. You're actually supposed to have a convex curve right here in the cervical spine. So we can achieve that by, first of all, you need to have proper alignment from the sits bones all the way up the spine. So you want the what are they called? them bones, you know? You want them one stacked on top of the other. You don't want to be like hunching forward, or you don't want to be like swayed back. You want to be like really having integrity. And we do this by pulling like squeezing up through the pelvic muscles, squeezing the navel in, rolling the shoulders down and back, and then to create that convex curve in the cervical spine, we push the chin back just slightly so the crown of the head is directly over the shoulders. But in our society today, because so many people like type on computers all day and sit at desks and drive cars, and we're pretty much just sitting all day. Maybe we sit in class if we're a student. So we tend to have this like kind of hunching effect where our chin juts forward and our shoulders are rounded and the back of our spine is we have what's called a kyphosis, which means like the upper back is rounded too much forward. So that leads to injury in the neck, and compensatory patterns in the shoulders and arms. There's a lot. There's like a whole kinetic chain from the ground up that needs to be in alignment in order to move properly. So, like I said earlier, just kind of sitting up, practicing good posture, pushing the chin just slightly back will teach that these muscles in the shoulders and the neck to keep the head directly on top of the spine. And your head, I think that the average is like your head weighs about an average of 8 pounds. And so it's a lot of weight for your neck to support all day, every day. And if you're in a pattern of misalignment, then oftentimes what happens is like these muscles along the spine, they end up being they end up being over lengthened, over stretched, and then the muscles in the front side, they end up being too short. And so so the muscles in the back of the neck will be a little bit too weak, and then the muscles in the front of the neck are going to be a little bit too engaged or too over flexed. So that's why it's important for us to practice that chin back alignment. But there are some other things like yoga poses that can help with reintegrating the muscles and rebalancing them. And that can be just working on range of movement by rolling the head around like this, forward and back. And then you can also do some, I like Vini Yoga. Vini Yoga does a really great job of kind of breaking this down and creating yoga flows that can rebalance really any part of the body. But since we're talking about the neck and shoulders, one of the poses that I learned is, doing a twist. So first of all, you want good posture in the spine, and then twisting to one side, turning the chin all the way to the end of the range of motion. And then another thing you can do is you can take the opposite hand and place it on that shoulder and kind of place a little bit of weight onto that shoulder, which what that does is it'll actually kind of stretch this muscle right here. It's runs along the clavicle, and it opens that shoulder a little bit more. So you're like pushing, let's see if I can turn to this side. So you're pushing the shoulder bone back in the socket. So opening the pectorals, and then you're also, these muscles back here are bringing the scapula bone more towards the spinal column. So that's just a little example of how you can kind of reintegrate, rebalance the muscles. They have to work in relationship to one another. So if the pectorals are too tight and you're rounding forward, then that means the muscles back here, the traps, can't remember what all they're called. I need to look up the names of these muscles. But anyway, the muscles back here are going to be not engaged enough to pull the scapula bone towards the spine. And what I end up with is a lot of congestion in the traps here. I have a baby, so I'm always holding her like this, and so like these muscles right here are always really tight. And then like the backs of my arms, as you can see, they're just not quite as well formed. So whenever you have a tight muscle group, you're going to have a weak muscle group that's kind of like in this compensatory movement pattern. So that's why it's so important to work on range of motion first, because your bones are misaligned and your muscles are out of balance. Some of your muscles are too tight. Some of your muscles are a little bit too weak. You're not using the strength of those muscles that have been weakened in that misaligned pattern of movement. So that leads to injury. So that's why it's important to work on range of motion and flexibility first, and then begin to add strengthening postures, so that you're strengthening the body while it's in alignment and in balance. So you're not strengthening compensatory patterns of movement. You want aligned patterns of movement. So, well, a lot of rambling about that. So getting back to creating like a creative, intuitive yoga, playful home practice, understanding those patterns of movement is going to give you an understanding of how to move your body in a safe way, so that you can have the freedom to play around safely in your yoga practice. So with that being said, some of the creature comforts that I like to have, again, I mentioned I have this blanket here, and I like to put it on my back in the beginning of my yoga practice. So if I'm in child's pose, I'll put the blanket on top of me to help warm up my body when I'm feeling a little bit chilly. It makes it a little more pleasant, because like sometimes I begin my yoga practice and I feel pretty cold and I'm like, I don't want to do this right now. So having a blanket to like kind of throw on top of you can feel really warm and soothing and comforting. And then you can kind of flow with it. Like I like to, if I'm standing up, I can just grab onto the blanket and just kind of like play with it. It can actually be used to help you stretch, kind of like using a strap. You can put it behind you like this to kind of like open up through that back body. And then I like to just kind of let it, oops, I just dropped my water glass. Upsy day. Speaking of having creature comforts, like sometimes when you have stuff around you, it falls, and you know what? It's fine. we can use our yogic Zen mindset to accept it. If if we have a spill, we can go clean it up. Um anyway, so you can use your blanket to keep you warm. You can keep it wrapped around you. You can also use it kind of like a strap to stretch through the arms and warm up the shoulder muscles. Like I was talking about, the range of motion. Um, Another thing is you can use a cushion. I never sit just directly on the floor. I always raise my hips. I like to have my hips higher than my knees. I feel that that's more comfortable for my body, and it also helps me sit up taller rather than having my knees like kind of, when you have your knees like um, above your hips, higher than your hips, then you tend to round in the low back, and that can exaggerate the kyphosis curve and the forward head tilt. So raising your hips on a block or a cushion can really help with posture. Um, Other things I like to do, I love to have a cup of coffee with me, and I've been like playing around with how to flow while holding my cup of coffee. I mean, you don't have to do that, but I like doing it just because it's fun. So I will see how I can creatively hold my cup of coffee while I'm in the postures, while also trying to work on, alignment and keeping the proper range of motion going. So I'll like hold it with my hands, like maybe I'll hold the handle and I'll hold it like that, and then try to roll my shoulders down and back, like rolling open the shoulders, rolling open the chest, and like just kind of holding this cup of coffee. Other things I'll do is like I'll just kind of slowly hold it out on my hand like that when I'm um in like a warrior pose or some kind of balancing pose, just for funs, just for hecks and giggles. You don't have to do that, but I like to. I like to have a cup of coffee with me while I'm practicing, because again, creature comfort makes me want to spend more time on my mat practicing. um, some people might not recommend that, but hey, life doesn't have to be perfect. Yoga doesn't have to be perfect, so whatever. Um, Another thing I like for creature comfort is I actually do like to watch TV while I'm practicing. It's not always recommended. It's not always the best because, your mind will get distracted and you won't be like really focusing on your practice fully. So take that with a grain of salt. Um, but if you like to watch TV and you don't want to do your yoga practice without the TV being on, then heck, some distracted yoga is better than no yoga at all. So if you would choose not to do yoga because you would rather watch TV, then why not just do yoga while you watch TV? In my opinion, some yoga is better than none. So whatever, doesn't have to be perfect. That's who I am. Don't hate me. But again, if you're going to do that, just make sure that you are uh, keeping your safety in mind. You don't want to like distract yourself and then end up hurting yourself in your yoga practice because you're not focusing on like staying aligned properly. But I really enjoy watching TV while I practice yoga. And um I actually came up with like a 10-minute yoga flow that I would challenge myself to do this yoga flow um, whenever a new episode of my show comes on. So let's say you have 30-minute or 45-minute episodes and you're having a binge Netflix day. Um, get yourself up and practice 10 minutes of yoga um, for each episode that you watch, and it can actually be, I think it's fun. I think it's a fun challenge, and it also helps me to feel more like less lazy, less lazy, and less like low energy, low mood. It helps my mood and my energy level when I am, doing these intervals. It also, gets your heart pumping and gets the lymphatic fluid flowing. So it's good for you to do those things. Of course, there's nothing wrong with like having a binge Netflix day and not doing any exercise. Like sometimes we just need rest and we just need to veg, and that's totally, you know, totally appropriate and acceptable in my opinion, and it's a part of yoga because uh, resting and relaxing and recovering is so important, and it is a part of the whole of yoga, the holistic practice of yoga. That's why we do shavasana at the end of every practice. Like it helps us to integrate and rest and relax and recover from the practice that we just did, so that we can take that yummy goodness within our body, within our cells, out into our day-to-day life. Other things, I like to keep a journal nearby, and I like to keep a book that I'm reading nearby. So it can be related to yoga, or it could be like something completely unrelated to yoga. But it's something that I'm working on in my life. Like it could be like a self-improvement book, or it could just be a novel that I'm reading just for the heck of it, just for the fun of it, just for funsies, I like to just sit on my mat and read. I like to sit on my mat and journal, and I like to sit on my mat and look at the internets. I feel like something about being on my yoga mat, it's like a safe space where I work on myself, and it helps me be a little bit more mindful of my choices and what I'm doing, and like it helps me think more about what will improve my life in this moment. I don't know. I find that psychologically is like the process. When I sit on my mat, I feel really grounded in like taking care of myself and focusing on my holistic wellness. And so like whatever I'm doing, like whatever I'm focusing attention on, I have that subconscious feeling of like I'm in my safe place. I'm in that place where I'm working on myself and trying to make better choices. And so it's like if I'm looking at the internet and like I notice something I'm reading is making me upset, then I'll be like, do I really want to be reading this? Maybe not. And like change what I'm looking at. Or even, even if I just like close social media off and be like, I really need to get off the internet now. Like whatever it is, like I feel like I'm like a little bit more attuned to myself, a little bit more mindful of my choices. And that's, that's something that I've learned over time. Other things, I really love things like candles or essential oil diffusers to kind of set a mood. Also, music can really help make my yoga practice fun. So like you can set your music to help you change your energy level. So if you're feeling really agitated and irritable, you could put on some soothing kind of like spa music that's really soft and mellow to help bring your energy down as you practice. Or if you're feeling kind of low and less energetic, you can put on some like upbeat like happy music. I like indie music. Like acoustic indie music just really makes me happy. I also like Zumba music. I like to put on Zumba music if I'm like really ready to be energetic, and that helps me like want to do a more energetic, more like effortful workout, like a sweaty flow. Some people like to put on like trap music, rap music, and that helps them kind of like express whatever's going on inside and work through it on their mat. So do with that what you will. Use whatever music you like to listen to kind of express yourself in your yoga practice. You might notice a difference in the sensation that you feel or just in the emotional tone that you're experiencing in your practice. Sometimes the music that I listen to helps me relax and be soothed. Other times the music I listen to is upbeat and it helps me want to go deeper and stronger into my yoga practice. So do with that what you will. Some of the shows that I like to watch and movies that I like to watch while I'm practicing, I really love Harry Potter. That's my comfort. So when I'm going through a hard time in my life, I turn on the Harry Potter series and I start with episode 1, and usually it takes me about a week to watch all the movies, and generally it just brings me a lot of comfort and a lot of joy to watch those movies. So I will turn them on and I'm so familiar with the movie that I know what's coming up next, and so I can really focus on my practice but also kind of hear the storyline in the background. So that's fun for me. And then right now I'm actually watching a show called Wentworth, and it's about a women's prison in, I think it's Australia, and it's a pretty dark show. So bear in mind that can affect you. It can affect how you feel, but I'm really enjoying it for me personally. Other shows I like, I love The Office. I'm watching Grey's Anatomy right now. I love Grey's Anatomy. Parks and Recreation, Superstore, Bless This Mess. I like the kind of dark drama series, but I also really like a light-hearted comedy type of show. Oh, I also love Saturday Night Live too, but I generally just watch that on the weekends in the evenings when I'm dog tired. I don't usually do yoga to Saturday Night Live. But you can if you want to. Anyway, so the purpose of me kind of sharing this, I'm sharing some knowledge about my personal yoga practice at home, because I feel like the things that we see on social media and on the internet, sometimes it kind of puts on this very polished view of yoga. When you look at the yoga teachers on YouTube, or you look at Instagram yoga people, it's like they are always looking pretty zenned out, and they're in this really clean room with nothing around them, no distractions, no music. They're just perfectly hitting all their poses and stuff like that. To me, that feels kind of unattainable and kind of not gonna work for me. It's not representing my real life, my messy life, and my not so always so in alignment yoga practice. So I kind of get turned off towards those things that I see on social media that make me feel like I have to have a perfect room that's so clean and perfectly polished, perfect yoga clothes, and my hair looks good, and I've only drank green smoothies for the last week. And then my yoga practice looks like a beautiful ballerina. No, that's not my life. My life is messy. I get distracted. I like to watch TV. I have a mess in my living room sometimes. It's okay. You can practice yoga even if you're not perfect. And so I like to just kind of challenge that perfectionism. And also I like to say yoga practice can be fun. Make it your own, and make it comfortable, make it your safe place where you work on yourself and also, challenge that perfectionistic tendency that our industrialized society tends to push us towards. We don't have to be perfect. This is your yoga, your practice, your mat, your home. Make with it what you will, make it serve you, and enjoy your life as an imperfect yogi, just as you are, and have fun with it. Be creative. um you know do what you need to do to feel better. Let it be your therapy, let it be your safe place. And if you're a spiritual person, maybe it becomes a part of your spiritual practice. So anyway, that's what I had to say about making yoga fun, making it playful. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to, be a Instagram model yogi. You can have fun, drink your coffee, watch your show, practice yoga. It's all good. Peace. Talk to you later. Bye.